Oh, it is streaming. Okay, we're live.
Oh, yay.
So, hi
Well,
everybody. Sorry about that interruption, about that faux pas. Hello, my name is Dionne Roberts, and today I am here with Marcy McDonald. She is a mindset expert and an end-of-life doula. One of the reasons why I have brought her on today to speak, especially to menopausal women and women who are hysterectomy heroines, is because, of course, traditionally, we all know that my screen just flashed something else. Traditionally, we all know that menopause used to start between the ages of 50 to 53. So what we think after that there was only a quarter to a third of one lifespan still to go. Now, science is still saying that, but we as women know that that is now BS. And that due to all the changes within our food and all the changes within our water, menopause is starting far, far earlier for many, many women. So what does this mean to you, and why have I brought Mary to speak to you today? It's because it means that life after the menopause is not necessarily 10 years or 20. It could actually be half of the life you've lived so far. And therefore it brings into question, what am I going to do with the rest of my lifespan, since I'm only halfway there? And Marcy. Marcy has an amazing technique, which she's going to explain to them a little bit later. But that is the reason I've brought her here to speak, to interview her for you today. So welcome, Marcy. I really, really appreciate it.
Thanks,
I mean, not only are you all those things, you are, you've written a book and you've been a bestseller in how many books?
The last book I collaborated on was an international bestseller in 5 days, within 5 days.
Can you just turn up your volume just a little bit more?
Sure. Can you hear me better now?
Just a little bit more?
It's up all the way.
Okay, let me try mine. Yeah, okay. Let's hear that again.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay, super. Yes, so the book that just came out, which I collaborated on, was an international bestseller within 5 days.
Wow. And tell us a little bit what that book's about.
That book is called Transforming Your Life. It's volume 5 of a series. 20 authors got together to tell their stories of transformation with very clear points about how you too could be transforming your own life.
That's awesome. And I know you've also been featured in a program. I mean, we don't get this program in the UK, but it's a very, very popular program where you are. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, there's a show called, a reality TV show called 4 Days to Save the World. And I was selected to work with a team of 8 other people on how to end suicide. We had just 4 days to do it. And then they brought me back as a special guest to work on the scenes and just bring everything up. They've invited me to season 2. It was a very, very powerful and important thing to be doing, because suicide, as I'm sure everybody listening knows, has just become a terrible plague in our world.
Yes, you do such important work. So going straight into that important work that you do is, why end-of-life doulaing? Why did you choose that field? And also, for those who don't know what it is, can you just synopsize it in one sentence?
Sure. An end-of-life doula helps the dying and their families come to peace with the end of their lives, practically, spiritually, and emotionally, helping them make the choices they need to be that as smooth leave-taking as possible.
And how did you get into this line of work?
Well, I come out of a corporate background where I was creating lecture series for lifelong learners, very high-end video productions. And I left that because 5 members of my family became ill all at the same time. And I was the only person with the resources to take care of them. So I just left and went to take care of people. And once I got everybody settled, I started consulting on online courses, consulting and coaching. And I was doing that for a number of years and running into clients who really just were trying to make a quick buck rather than trying to teach the best they could, which is where my passion lay. In the middle of that, I started to feel like this isn't my calling. You know, I need to be doing something more meaningful. And my younger brother went into the hospital right around the time I was having this kind of existential crisis. And he was told on day 1, we're really sorry, but it looks like you only have 2 to 3 years to live. On day 2, they said, we were wrong. You have 7 to 8 months to live. On day 3, they said, you know what? It's more like 2 to 3 months to live. On day 4, they said, it's 2 to 3 weeks to live. And on day 5, they said, you know what? We're really sorry, but it's 1 to 2 days to live. At that point, I flew across the country and I sat bedside with my brother as he took his last breaths. And I realized then, and this was pre-COVID, I realized that life is short and our time here is completely unexpected. We never have any idea of how long we'll have. Life takes us all by surprise, even if you've got a diagnosis. And in realizing that, I thought I need to do something that really matters to me. And so I chose the path of becoming an end-of-life doula because it's so precious and such an honor to be able to help people during that very sacred passing. And I became one of, at that time, fewer than 36 people who achieved international certification. So that's how I became an end-of-life doula.
Wow, that is amazing. That is so, so amazing. He inspired you on your life path. Do you feel, it sounds to me that you, like many people that are experts in their field, there's a natural affinity and there's a natural gift. So the guidance that you give somebody at that stage of their life, which influence, you know, the programs and the things that you create now, do you mind sharing even though you didn't have the training then with your brother, but some of the most innate natural things that came to you at that time to help him in that moment?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question because, I mean, people, everyone listening or watching to this is going to face having someone they love die. And what came to me at the moment, sitting with my brother and watching him struggle to breathe and being basically unresponsive, he was in something like a coma. It just came to me that I had to be with him as much as I could. And that meant just really opening myself up to being present and witnessing him. And sorry.
Take your time.
I spent a number of hours holding his hand and just telling him everybody who loved him and all the good that he'd done, not just how much I loved him, but telling him stories that demonstrated that he'd had an impact on so many people. And I think that's so important because people in transition do hear you. They're straddling between this world and whatever comes next, but they are aware of love being poured on them like a balm all over them. and it puts them at ease. And so that was my instinct, to let him know how much he was loved, and also to give him permission to leave us, all these people who loved him, that it was okay, because I didn't know it at the time, but often the dying hold on. Like, that's how people hold on until their granddaughter graduates or someone comes from across the world to be bedside with them. They're able to hold on in many cases because they want that closure, and they also need permission to go. I later sat with a man and his wife. His wife was dying, and he couldn't bear to come into the room with me as I sat bedside. He was wrestling with it so hard. So I talked with him and helped him understand that there wasn't any magic bullet for how he should talk to his wife, that all she needed from him was to touch her and just tell her how much he loved her, and that it was okay for her to leave. And he finally agreed to come in, because this woman had been in transition for days. She should have died, but she couldn't, because she didn't want to leave her husband. And so he finally came in, and he stood at the foot of the bed, and he just held on to her feet, and he told her, I love you, and it's okay if you leave me. We'll be joined again one day, and it's okay to let go. She transitioned right after that, and the room was filled with love that was tangible. I mean, it was a sacred moment. He let her go, but that's what all of us can do when we are bedside, and those were the instincts with my brother. To be with him, let him know he was loved, and also let him know he could leave. So why? Sorry, I'm crying here.
Okay, I'll summarize. So also with my experience, because I've worked with palliative care as well myself, there's like two major components. One is for the person who is passing to feel that it's okay for them to go. They need that permission. And the other for the person who is present in this world is that we need to know, us here listening, watching this, we need to know that simply being present and witnessing is all the support that person who is passing needs.
Yes, absolutely. That was a great summary. And I'll just say, I know we're kind of detouring here, but when someone is diagnosed as being ill, one of the very sad things that happens is that people feel like they don't know what to say or how to be with them. And so they stop seeing that person.
Yes.
That person gets isolated. And that's a hard way to go, when all we really need to do is just show up. We don't have to say anything. Just be witness, as you say, to this person's life before they leave. That is just, there's two most precious moments in the world. One is when we come into life, and one is when we leave it. And we need to witness both.
Yes. I would just like to pay a moment of respect in really homing in the witnessing state, the witnessing aspect, because in all suffering, the person who is suffering their suffering just needs to be witnessed. And that is them being accepted, acknowledged, unconditional love is there at that moment in time, support is there in that moment in time. One doesn't always have to fix something, just be present and witness. So I just wanted to leave that for in every aspect of life and suffering and journeying.
Absolutely.
But the question I would like to ask you from there is, the work that you now do, taking all your life experience of an end-of-life doula into the work that you now do in your coaching, it's about helping somebody ascertain how precious of years that they have, and how to use those years productively, more fulfillingly. How would you describe the work that you do now in regards to shaping somebody's years that they have left?
So I'll set this up with a story about how I came to integrate these two aspects of my life into the coaching I'd already been doing. At the height of COVID, I got a call from a woman who said, my uncle has just been diagnosed with something else, not COVID. He's been given 1 week to live, and he is burdened with regrets. Can you help him? So I said, okay, I'll do my best. And we got on Zoom, and this man, if everybody listening and watching can just picture lying literally in your deathbed, too weak to even hold the laptop. His knees had to hold the laptop in front of him. Mm-hmm. And he, they propped him up with pillows so that he could talk to me. And I asked him to share his life story, his journey. And as he listened, as he talked to me, I just listened. I just held space for whatever he had. I wasn't there to judge. I was just there to witness, as we were saying. And I realized as he was talking that his entire life was a skewed perspective, that he had judged himself so harshly for things that he had tried to do that hadn't worked. But that failure of things to work didn't mean that he was a bad person. It actually meant that he was a very loyal person, that he tried very hard to be as loving as he could. He had a son who was an addict, and he'd never been able to reach his son to be able to help him get clear of drugs. And so he felt like a failure. And it had infiltrated into everything he did and how he perceived himself. And so I listened, and then I just reframed. I didn't exaggerate. I didn't tell any lies. I just said, here's the truth as I hear it. And I reframed his entire life for him and for his family who were there holding the laptop and witnessing. And it changed how he saw himself, and it changed how they saw him and how they saw themselves, because they understood for the first time that everything we do doesn't work out. But as long as we're being loving and kind and doing our best, then that is a journey that ends with well done, good and faithful servant. When I did that and I saw the change in him, even lying there, just the light that came into him was so powerful and so beautiful. And he died 3 days later at peace with his life. But it made me realize, oh my God, this conversation has to be moved into everybody's lives as early as possible. Because pardon?
And why is that?
Because unless we number our days, we take our days for granted. Unless we realize that every single day we have this day, right now, this moment is utterly precious, then we tend to waste it in feeling bad about ourselves, wasting time, beating ourselves up emotionally, beating other people up emotionally in whatever way. And let me just put this into the question of menopause. When you hit menopause, for a lot of women I know, there's just this basket, this tangled basket of feelings that come surging up. You judge yourself for not being a woman anymore because you can't bear children anymore. You judge yourself as not being sexual when you were taking that as your identity. You're uncomfortable, you're not sleeping. All these things become judgments on yourself. And that can color how you're living every single day. That might be the only day you have left. So you have to learn how to just be present in your day, to acknowledge what you're feeling and what you're going through, and then make choices about, well, how do I want to spend this day? Do I want to spend it complaining? Or do I want to spend it grateful for the fact that I'm here? And that's what I weave into all my coaching. There's a lot that goes into it, but I front load everything with that because it gives you an urgency about making the changes that you might have put off forever, or doing the things that you might think you're going to do someday. And I know I mentioned this to you before, but my friend, someday is the same as saying no day. This day is the only day. So if you want things to change, if you want to do certain things, if you want to feel certain things, you have to attend to that today and build from there so that every day is intentional and beautiful and a life worth living.
And you do this with a technique that you've called the reverse bucket list.
Yes, I use several exercises, but I'll just quickly run through the reverse bucket list. So this feeling that we have all the time in the world to do all the things that perhaps when we were younger, we thought, oh, I'll travel the world, or I'll volunteer, or I'll spend more time with my kids, or later grandkids, but you don't get around to doing. So what we do is say, let's imagine the next 20 years. What's on your bucket list? List everything you can think of. And people listening or watching can do this right now. Just everything you want to do. And it might be improve my relationship. It might be help my next door neighbor. It might be I've always wanted to go to the tip of South America and climb the glaciers. It could be anything, and it should be everything. Just throw it all down there. That's your bucket list. Now, back it up. So let's say you turns out you only have 10 years to live. Now, from what you said earlier, when we started this conversation, women are hitting menopause sometimes at halfway through their lives. So maybe they have 40 or 50 years, but for the purpose of this, let's imagine you had 20 for your bucket list and now you're backing it down. You only have 10. What's still on your bucket list? What are those things can you still do? I want you to think about the top 3 things. Just what would they be? And then back it up. Now, sorry to say, you only have 5 years to get everything done. What stays on your list? What's most important? It might not be the same things. It might be the same things. It doesn't really matter. It's helping you think about a limited time span and getting those things done. Now, guess what? You only have 1 year to live. What's still on that list? Add something that you didn't think of that's more important. And then we keep bringing it down to now you have 1 month, now you have 1 week, now you have 1 day. And believe me, by the time you get to that, down that funnel to 1 day, what's truly important to you will be crystal clear. Then we build it back out. So, okay, here are the things that you said were most important. Now, what's on your bucket list for 1 month now that you understand these things? And how are you going to get those things done? Let's make a plan. Let's get it on the schedule. And then we build out to a year and 5 years and 10 years and all the way back to 20 years with a plan for accomplishing the most important things first and making a decided, clear steps for how you're going to get to all those things eventually. It's kind of really shakes people up.
Yeah, because hearing it for the first time, it felt so daunting to me, and my mind went blank, and it felt quite heavy, and I felt quite anxious, and there's a bit of shock coming up and down, rising up and down like this. And this is the second time I've heard it now, and there was less of that, but there was still a little bit there. So I want to ask you is, how do you create a safe environment for somebody to actually do this exercise with you?
Well, for one thing, we don't do it in 1 minute. You know, I don't describe it all in 1 minute. We will have already talked about some of the things that have been bothering that person, you know, some of their struggles. And really, when I say we would have talked about it, they would have talked and I would have listened, because my job is not to do the work for you. It's just to listen and guide you and let you know you're being heard, which, as we mentioned earlier, most people never feel seen. They never feel heard because people are too busy in their own heads to really be still enough, long enough to say, oh, I see you, I hear you, I'm not in my head thinking of what I'm going to say next. I'm just present with you, listening. So that's the environment we start with, where you feel seen, heard, treasured, and not the least bit judged. My goal is to help everybody understand and know that they are more than enough just as they are, that they are beautiful, that they're worthy of unconditional love, and to come to the point where they love themselves. And that's not a woo-woo kind of thing. That's just a fact. We're not put here to be miserable. We're put here to learn how to love ourselves, and then we're able to love other people. So I hold space for them. I witness them. I make them feel comfortable and seen, so that then we walk through this very slowly, taking the time and, letting the imagination go. I actually always start all my sessions being very creative with it, having fun with it.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel heavy at first, because you think, oh, this is fun. These are all the things I want to do. It's not till we start taking time away that it gets a little heavier. But I also start all my sessions with a short guided visualization, because when you start coaching someone, they're coming into the session and they're feeling like, oh, I only have an hour. Or in the case of this numbering your days work, we actually start with a 3-hour session. But even so, it's like I'm carrying all my junk from my day, whether it's physical or emotional or a fight we had, or that you feel like you don't have enough money, whatever it is, it's all the junk you're carrying and it's weighing you down,
Starting with these techniques of, setting up that sort of container and making people feel safe, and using techniques like visualization, that's stepping into your mindset work, I would imagine.
Yes, exactly.
And
so
how do you differentiate mindset from meditation or mindfulness?
if you imagine those kids' toys where there's a cup, and then you have to fit another cup in it and another cup. And for the kid, it's like just learning how to maneuver things and understand that one thing fits in another. So what we have are a bunch of containers, all which fit inside each other. The largest container is your emotional health. That's the mindset that we're all reaching for. What goes into that are things like mindfulness, or a healthy mindset, or a success mindset, or an abundance mindset. All of those fit into that. And so everything that I do is geared around helping people become emotionally healthy, and recognizing that that's within their power to attain. We're really not taught how to do that. And that emotional health is your emotionally healthy mindset. That's the biggest bucket we have. And so that's all about mindset. There's lots of things that go into it, lots of aspects. And mindfulness is a very important element of that. But it's very difficult to get to mindfulness if you don't number your days, and if you're carrying around a lot of negative self-talk, because that's in the way of your being able to be mindful, because your head's always telling you all this junk.
Yeah, it's in the way of one being present, and mindfulness is about being present in the moment.
Yes. We start with numbering your days, and then we move into what I call shifting your self-talk, which is all about utilizing the neuroscience of how our brain works, the emotional mind and the rational mind. The emotional mind is in charge. The rational mind sits back and says, oh, the emotional mind's got this. So your feelings about your past and your future and all that negativity, like when you're going through menopause, where you feel like, is this it? Is this the rest of my life? I'm going to be waking up sweaty every night. Sex is difficult now. Is this it? That's like a projection to the future. But when you work with your mind on shifting your self-talk and understanding what you're telling yourself, then you can become ready to be in the present, in what I call living in your now. Because you're aware, this might be the only day. I have a choice about what I'm telling myself. Here's what I'm choosing. Now I can focus on what I am deliberately being intentional about. And If it doesn't work, then I say, oh, that didn't work. And I get back into that path again without all that judgment. You're
Yeah.
just not taught
So
this.
how does somebody work with you? Where does one go to find you if they want to come on this journey with you?
Well, my website is selfmasterytransformation.com, because I believe everybody can learn the tools and strategies for creating a life that is a joyful and satisfying life. Not always happy, not dance on the tabletops, but one where you are always able to choose how you want to respond to things instead of reacting. So selfmasterytransformation.com. And then I have several different programs for working
And
with
do you have a
people.
little freebie for us? And do you want to explain what that little freebie is that I will be sharing in the link below this video?
Yes, I have. One of the biggest challenges for people is that they have negative self-talk. It's unhealthy, and they don't even realize how it's affecting their lives. I have a free sign up that's 7 strategies to silence your inner critic. And I can actually, should I put it in the chat here, or what's the best way?
No. You'll send it to me afterwards.
Okay, I'll send it to you afterwards.
I will share it with others.
Yeah, so it's just a quick overview of your self-talk and how you can start noticing it so that you can start shifting it. And as soon as you shift that, you're going to start to feel better.
That's awesome. So we're going to end with a lightning round of questions so that people can get to know you rather than your work just a little bit more.
Oh boy, so, let's go.
Get yourself really comfortable in your seat. And literally, I'm just going to fire these, and what's at your core, just say which one, A or B, okay? So are you a coffee or tea person?
Both.
Cat or dog?
Both.
A book that changed your life?
Loving What Is.
Who's that?
By Byron Katie. Phenomenal book about learning how to question your perceptions.
Excellent. Best country you experienced?
Ooh, I'd say Zambia. Yeah, it's amazing.
What year?
Oh gosh, maybe 2012, I think. Yeah.
Because countries change all the time nowadays.
Yeah.
Best favorite movie?
I don't know. Well, maybe Harold Loves Maude. Let's go with that. Is that the title?
But it's
Pardon?
one of these movies, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
The last song you played on repeat?
Oh gosh, it's a song I absolutely love. It's called The Prayer by Thunderstorm Artists. I must have played this 20 times yesterday. It's so beautiful. You should look it up.
Will do. What would you have done differently in 2020 at the start of the pandemic if you could have done something differently?
Absolutely nothing. Oh, seriously, I am very grounded. I'm emotionally healthy. When stuff came up, I just dealt with it. And so I could be responding to the pandemic instead of reacting emotionally with panic and fear.
No, I love that answer, because basically, ladies and gentlemen who's watching this is the woman that's actually, she walks her talk. That's what you just expressed to us. So I love it. Favorite morning ritual?
It's kind of back to back. I wake up and before I get out of bed, I pray for everybody in my family and my friends and my neighborhood and my country and the world. And then I make my gratitude list, both the good and the bad things that I'm struggling with, because I'm grateful for all of it. And then I take a walk around sunrise with my dog. And I just do what I call Zen dogging, where I'm just, whatever my dog does, I do. He runs, I run. He walks, I walk. He stops to sniff things, I stop to look around, so that I'm totally present for the half hour while we're walking. And those 3 things together set me up for really understanding today as a gift. and I'm grateful to be here.
I've never heard that called a name before. Zen
I
dog.
made it up recently.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Post more about that, please. And the last one is the current show, the show you are currently binge watching.
Oh, I guess it would be the Great British Baking Show. But you can't really binge watch it because now they're just releasing it by the week. But previously, until I got caught up, I was definitely like a little addicted.